Hello, 4th and 5th grade. This video is for the one science lesson you have this week. It is a little bit longer of a lesson, so you could do it all at once, or if you want to split it out, do a little bit here and a little bit there, that's fine too. So we're continuing our chapter on matter. This lesson is the second lesson. In the last lesson, we talked about like the properties of matter and talked a little bit about mass. But this lesson's about how matter is measured. So there's quite a bit to deal with here. It's going to be really, really important that you are using both the text and the captions and pictures as you go through this, because it's all really, really important. You cannot skip anything. So to start with, as always, look over your big question and your vocab words. And then this prompt up here is a good one. So you can see it's a little Lego house. And it says, observe the group of toy blocks on each page. Tell how the two groups are alike and different. So you can see that on this side, all of the Legos are taken apart. And over here, they're put together to make a house. So one thing to think about is even though these look different, the mass is the same. The mass of this completed little build, this house, is the same as all of the parts that are in this house. These are the same exact Legos. It's just like last time when I said the mass of a piece of paper is the same whether that piece of paper is laying nice and flat or if you crumple it all up into a ball. Just because it looks a little different, as long as it still has all the same parts to it, it's the same mass. So one thing to think about here is if I added some more Legos onto this house, it would no longer have the same mass as this pile of Legos, because this one would now have more than this one. So that's going to be important for you to think about as we go. So on the first page here, it's going to talk about mass a little bit more specifically, like we did. This tinfoil picture over here is like what I just was talking about. Here's the tinfoil all flat and smooth. Here it is a little bit crumpled, and here it's been squished into an entire ball. But all three of these are the exact same mass because they are all the exact same amount of tinfoil, just they look a little different, okay? So just like the Legos up here, okay? On the next page, kind of like what we said, here are some more like magnetic toys on a balanced scale. You can see this scale is balanced because the little arrow's right in the middle here and they're level. So here is the toy built, and then here are just all the parts, the same parts of this toy, okay? So they have the same mass because whether they are in this form or in this form, it's the same amount. Now, if I added more parts to this side would have more mass than this side. Or if I added more to this guy, but not this side, this guy would have more mass, okay? Over here, it's just talking about ways to measure mass. Like I said, it's going to be really important that you're reading all of the captions that you see along these pages. So these little blocks are equal to 1 gram in the metric system. Think of it like when we do base 10 blocks, the little ones cubes, that's how light they are. So you're going to read this part up here where they tell you that this eraser weighs 22 grams. And you can see that in the illustration. They tell you in the caption, but you can see it in the illustration because if you counted these little blocks, there would be 22 of them. Later on, they're going to have you find the mass of this toy car, and you'll do that by counting the blocks on this side of the tray. So again, read all of your captions. It's really important. You're going to talk about volume, so how much space something takes up, a three-dimensional thing takes up. So it'll talk about the volume of this cube and how you can measure using centimeters. Pay attention to these formulas right here. This is really important. You don't have to do this part down here, but if you want to look at it, you can. This side continues talking about ways to measure volume, whether it's solids and liquids. Again, read everything, but I want to point out these pictures here So these are called graduated cylinders, these big long tubes. So one way they're saying you can measure volume or how much space something takes up is by using liquid. So you can see on this graduated cylinder, it just has water in it. And the amount of water is about 45 milliliters if you look at the scale there. When they put one of these little blue like bouncy ball things in it, you can see the water level rises because this ball is taking up space, which pushes water into other space. So you can do a little math, and it's just simple subtraction. To find the volume of this ball, they'll tell you you would subtract the amount the water moved from the original level of the water. But again, it's going to explain it, and that's what's happening in this picture too. So you can see the water level here. Once they put the block in, the water level goes up. Do a little subtraction to figure it out. So read everything. And then finally, we usually do science using the metric system, so centimeters, milliliters, meters, kilometers. But of course we have the US metric system too, with inches and ounces and pounds. So this is kind of talking about the same stuff with volume, but using the metric or using the US system. So read through this, pay attention to everything, all of the captions. And then over here, when it says compare measurements. So let's just take ourselves, for example. I can measure my height, and using the US system, which we're more used to, I can measure my height as 5 feet 6 inches, so 5'6". I could also measure myself using centimeters, which is going to be a totally different number. But does that mean my height is different? No, I'm still the same height. I'm just using different units of measurement. So whether you're using the US system or the metric system to measure or weigh something, even though you're going to get different numbers, it doesn't mean that, you know, if something measures 5 feet, but then you get like 60 some centimeters, I don't even know. But it doesn't mean that their height is different. It's just different units of measurement. So that's what this last page is going to be about. So hopefully that makes more sense than what I was saying. So this is a longer lesson. You can choose how you want to split it up or do it all at once, but it's the only one for this week. So you'll read pages 311 to 317. You'll answer numbers 1 through 5 and then 7 through 14. Okay? All right, good luck.